In this tutorial, we'll show you how to make this beat. To start off, we're going to look at making a simple beat using samples on audio tracks, as opposed to loading them into a sampler. The first thing to do is to carefully pick your samples. We're primarily going to be using samples from CM182's Kirk DiGiorgio VIP series sample pack, but for the drums, we'll use samples from the Dexcar and Bill Poster's VIP pack from CM178. Start a new project in Ableton Live and use the browser on the left to locate the raw samples folder, where we've included the individual samples for this tutorial. Select View Arrangement and drag in the kick19.wav. You can hit space to start and stop playback. We can hear and see, if you zoom in, dragging up and down on the ruler, that there is a bass build-up at the end, which we don't need for the tight and punchy style that we're aiming for. Hover the mouse over the top right of the sample clip till it turns into a square bracket, then drag the tail forward until the reflection of the initial hit is removed. There's a soft popping sound produced from cutting the sound off abruptly, but we can fix that using a fade out. Turn on fade editing and use the tiny handles to lengthen the fade out. Cutting and fading like this are standard procedures when editing audio. To make a 4/4 kick drum pattern, copy the sample of the kick drum onto each beat. Next we'll look at snares. For a good weighty snare, you want a sound that punches around 150 to 200 Hz, and snare20.wav hits that spot nicely. We place it on a new track on beats 2 and 4. If your ear isn't attuned to what sounds hit at which frequencies, you can use a spectrum analyzer to see where a sound rings out the most. Before we start bringing in any more layers to this loop, we need to think about EQing the drums. We want the kick to be heavy, but not to conflict with the bass line that we're going to add later. So drag Live's EQ8 from the browser onto the kick track. Click the leftmost button, the low cut icon, and set the frequency to about 50 Hz. To clear out the low end of the snare, we use an EQ8 to cut it just below 200 Hz. And then we boost the punchy 200 Hz range by 5 decibels with a tight bell filter. You can make your own custom drum sounds by layering up multiple samples. Let's layer up our snare to boost its treble and give it character. We make 2 more audio tracks, dropping in snare14.wav and snare15.wav. We use EQ8 to cut the low end at 500 Hz on both. Finally, we're going to drop in a ready-made hi-hat loop to make our beat groove. CM6 OpenHats.wav comes from the Kirk DiGiorgio VIP series sample pack, and it's a nice and bright sample, which we copy across our 32-bar beat. Again, we want to get rid of any unnecessary low frequencies, so we low cut at around 635 Hz.